today it
Oh,
seems to be working okay, which is good.
okay, awesome.
We like it when it works good.
The adventures of
Um,
technology.
we are officially live on YouTube. So hello everybody. Hope that you're all doing
Hello.
pretty good. We are live today here, of course, with Alba for a new interview in World Virtual Tours. And just a very brief introduction in case you guys don't know what we're doing here. So, as part of the program of World Virtual Tours, we're making different introductions and interviews with all of our guides and historians and archaeologists, so you guys can actually get to know us a bit better and know why we are often on your computer telling you random stuff about history and culture. And today, of course, we're here with Alba. So, Alba, if you would like to introduce yourself in case there is somebody watching that doesn't know you yet, and then we'll ask you some questions at random because we don't plan these things, guys, by the way. We just talk about random stuff that comes to mind or that you guys have asked us before you would like to know about. So, Alba, take the floor.
Okay, so welcome everybody. It is lovely to share, my story with all of you. Besides the city of Rome, so I am an Italian archaeologist. I am based in Rome, and I am also a licensed tour guide, and this is what I do now. Although I have an academic education, I have a PhD in archaeology. My focus as an archaeologist is in the afterlife of ancient Roman structures within medieval places of prayer, especially, which is quite a small niche of expertise. And I try my best to share all that I have learned during my doctoral dissertation with visitors that come to Rome. So my mission instead as a tour guide is to share the less known areas, especially of this city and also in the surroundings of Rome. I have lived quite a few years abroad. That's how I learned English, and that helps me a lot with my job nowadays. So yeah, that's it. That's a little bit about me. I'm looking forward to your questions.
Awesome. Well, one of the first questions, and I think this is kind of the question for everybody, is so you've already mentioned, and I already know this, but for the listeners at home, you've already mentioned you had a PhD background like so many of us, and you decided, no, this is not for me. I'm gonna do something else. So, explain to people why did you decide to make this decision? Because I find most of us make the decision for the same reasons, but we all experience, slightly different things. So tell us, what was the journey like?
Well, I have always loved history, art history, and then later on archaeology. So it was my path. I know this was the right path from the beginning. I focused more and more into this field. I was so lucky. I feel it was also a matter of luck to get into a great program abroad at Brown University and learned so much about the academic life and met wonderful, wonderful scholars, beautiful people, and was mind blown by their I call it a vocation and lifestyle that research and academia require. And so, although it was a wonderful environment, I realized more and more that my favorite part of it was telling stories and sharing the information rather than the actual research, which was fascinating. And I'm still humbled by the amount of means and technology I had access to run my research. But it just felt so overwhelming for me. Doesn't mean that it's a different path. I mean,
Of
people
course.
love it. Also love the dynamic lifestyle. Working in research is also about traveling a lot and moving. I saw Martina's interview and I was like, see, she moves from South Africa to the Netherlands and it's normal to her.
Mhm.
So it's wonderful, but it's a life choice. And I had this luck of living in, I think, the most rich country of the world of art, especially Roman archaeology. So I got my guiding license when I was still in college, believe it or not, and just gave it a try. and realized more and more that I loved sharing what I had learned so much with people all around the world, and also loved meeting new people all around the world. And so it became more and more obvious to me that maybe this was my path. And it became really clear after COVID, after lockdown, because I missed it so much, so much. And after, the last lockdown, when museums reopened, I just dived right straight into the Vatican museums, and this is my place. This is my life now. And here I am in the middle of a jubilee. So,
Yeah, well, actually, that was gonna be my follow-up question. I know so many, and I'm glad you mentioned COVID, because I know so many tour guides who quit
yes.
because of COVID. Like they just didn't have a good time. They didn't like the experience, and coming back, I feel, and I think a lot of us feel, people kind of went a little bit bonkers and started going a bit off the rails with this maddening love for travel, which is great. And it's our job, so we're not gonna tell people don't travel. But in some ways, people change, and the way traveling happened also changed. And of course, now you have a whole jubilee in Rome. So how is that going for you? Because I mean, I appreciate that at least for the last few years, it's been pretty much not such a thing as low season in Rome, in Italy in general, but in Rome particularly. So, can you share with people the challenges and also the wonderful things of big events like this in places like Rome, which I don't think a lot of people realize have a massive impact in the way just, tour guides do their job, and how to experience cities like Rome?
Yes. So a side note, just not to scare people, do not worry, Rome is absolutely livable also during a jubilee. Because the peculiar thing is that the most targeted areas in the city are the religious ones.
Mhm.
So it is bizarre that certain areas are extremely crowded, extremely, like in full high season, even now. Others are a desert. And it is actually pretty enjoyable because the city has been restored and enhanced. It has been prepared to host 3 times the regular amount of visitors. That's what
Wow.
we are expecting. So it was a bit frustrating 2 months before the beginning of the Jubilee, because
Right.
I am embarrassed about this. Some that follow me on virtual tours experienced a part of it. Many fountains, many beautiful monuments were covered by scaffolding because they were wrapping up everything a bit late, because welcome to Italy, everything is late and little bit out of control. And now the city is as stunning as ever. Believe me, everything is cleaned up, repaired. There have been works that nobody had thought of finishing for years, and now magically they're all done and wrapped up. Infrastructure has improved, and new museums opened. New archaeological excavations have been funded and supported by the government, which is something rare. So actually, for the lovers of the humanities field, our historians, restaurators, conservators, this is a wonderful time in history because the city is at its peak, its highest peak. Jubilees usually happen every 25 years, although there are extraordinary ones. We had the last one in 2015. And as a tour guide, I can tell you that unless you work inside the Vatican museums, and that is what I am doing now, I'm spending almost sleeping inside the Vatican for the man going on now. But usually in general, since I told you many areas are a desert, it doesn't give you a lot of work as a tour guide, because there's the normal travelers stay away from the city because they are scared away from the Jubilee, and pilgrims are not usually customers. They rarely buy tours. So they visit monuments on their own, and what they do, and that's why I'm always in the Vatican, is perhaps they're already there. They're in St. Peter's Basilica, so why not take advantage of a tour?
Mhm.
So it's a bizarre moment for a tour guide. Actually, the peak I am expecting to work the most next year. Just like you mentioned, when COVID was over, everybody rediscover traveling, right? So it's going to be the same thing. Many that will have postponed their trip during this year
Yes.
because of the Jubilee will come all together next year.
Oh,
Usually that's what tourism does. It peaks up in Rome 2 months before the Jubilee and the year right after. So it's actually not that bad for people that are coming to Rome up until March. It will still be pretty livable, pretty tolerable. The scary part comes in Easter. That's when
right.
usually it is the highest in high season and even more during the Jubilee. So for now, I'm just, I'm working a lot in the Vatican, but nothing crazy, nothing wild yet, at least. It's a bit crowded in the usual, places, but that's one more reason, as I say, to get off the beaten path in the city and explore the less known areas, even outside of Rome, which are not crowded at all, believe me.
For sure. And actually, I'm glad that you mentioned the bit of except Easter, because of course there is something else that normally happens in Rome in April, which brings a lot of people, which is the
Mhm.
celebrations for the birth of Rome, following Roman traditions. And I
Yeah.
heard from my reenactor friends that somebody had the very strange idea to make the parade the day like right after Palm Sunday, like on the Monday, which
Yeah.
seems like hardcore.
Yeah, so there's this thing. We have a date. We know exactly, that's what we take for granted, that Rome was exactly born on April 21st. So no matter what day it is, if April 21st is also Easter, Romans don't care. They're gonna celebrate the birthday of the city. And fun fact, it was actually a historian during the times of Julius Caesar that just, looked at the stars, counted the numbers of consuls that had existed, and said, I decided Rome was born 753 before Christ on April 21st, period. And that's what we went through with. So if, to us, he was right. So no complaints.
That's fair.
Yes, yes, yes. And it is a really funny time to be in Rome. Not funny, fun, because our reenactors, since you mentioned a reenactor friend, are hardcore. Believe me,
Yeah.
the program is run by an associate professor in Roman history. So he knows his subject, right? And he does a great job, and not only organizing these reenactments, but he has great connections. Same reenacting organization also relives the Ides of March, the death of Caesar. So between March and April, it gets pretty busy here. Beautiful, beautiful. These events are shown on live streaming, by the way, so it is possible to follow them also online, not necessarily in person. And last 2 years, they've also been reciting Shakespeare's Julius Caesar in English, so can be followed by everybody in English from abroad. So yeah, fingers crossed that this year it won't be that crazy with the Jubilee and everything. But I guess we have a talent for matching dates and events and soccer matches to
Oh,
along
right, of
the
course. Yes.
way.
I almost
Yes,
forgot about football. Yeah,
yes.
it
Also
will be running
American
on.
football sometimes. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a intense time of the year for sure for you guys. Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
not, Alba and I talk quite frequently. I'm often not very envious of the timetable of Rome, to be fair. We're crucible, we're here, and things get crazy, but it's never quite that crazy, which, is I think is part of the charm, right? You don't go to Rome expecting like a quiet, quaint, nice town.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Or
yeah.
well, maybe if you do, you would be very disappointed. Well, on that note, though, Alba, I wanted to ask you something that I know it's pretty cool that you do, but most people don't necessarily do. Now, a little bird told me that you have a pretty cool pastime, which involves some dancing. So,
Yes.
can you tell the people at home what you get up to when you are not tour guiding? Because we do have lives outside of the world of history and culture. But yes, if you could tell us more about your hobby and explain to people what you do, that would be
Mhm.
great.
I am fully in love with swing dance and whatever is tied to that culture, because it is a full culture that runs around this style of dance. Boogie woogie, Lindy hop, Charleston. There's another style called Balboa. These are all dances that were born from the 1920s on. They had a really popular boom again from the 1990s, and there's a large community here in Rome. This style was actually, it came back to Europe from the United States, starting from the Scandinavian area, actually. And all these wonderful dancers just brought this dance back all also across Italy. And there's always, live concerts and jazz music being played. So after I'm done during the day walking all around Rome, I get my dance shoes on and I go in and dance swing. And it's a wonderful experience. When I am able to, I actually book weekends and go to festivals also abroad.
That's so cool.
Yes, it's a wonderful community, and I love that it's also so diverse. You have from 18 years old to up to one of my dance mates is 75,
Wow.
and he's adorable, and we have such fun dancing together. So it's also wonderful to have a chat, and you learn so
Mhm.
many interesting stories behind the people you dance with. It's also very, I say, gender fluid in a certain way, because there are no roles. You can dance, you can lead, you can follow. Doesn't mean whatever you want to do, you do. You can do this both roles while dancing on the same song, and it's even more fun. There's all this improvising to it, so there's no fixed rule. Yes, there is a basic step that you must follow, but
Mhm.
then it's all about following the music and feeling the rhythm together with all these people. And yes, it's wonderful. I love it. And by the way, this January I was so excited because I actually got to collaborate with a swing dance school and
Oh,
offered a jazz tour. So
wow.
I joined the two things. It was super exciting. And I organized this tour about the arrival of jazz music in Rome during the 1920s, which was a peculiar time because in Rome we
Mm.
had fascist regime. So it wasn't all about censorship. It was actually quite a complicated time where fascism would use jazz as a propaganda, or it
Mm.
would censor it, depending on the moment we were during the war. And there are some places in the city center of Rome that are still open to the public, where you kind of see what these clubs looked like,
Wow.
or private living rooms of these noble palaces, where there's one that still has the original floor that is flexible and allows you, it's a ballroom, so it
That's
helps
amazing.
you dance right those styles. So I had some fun doing research about, this music and arriving in Rome and looking for the places where you could still kind of bring all of this back to life. So that's actually one of the tours I offer in person when some travelers contact me and they ask me, we want to see something a little different from the usual. I'm like, then if you like jazz music, this is for you. And I usually during the tour, I have my playlist on Spotify, and I let people listen to in this year this was the hit, and usually it's either very vintage Italian songs, and I compare them to what was popular maybe in the United States when jazz was so well known and followed by everybody. So yeah, that was a fun thing to combine my passion outside of work and work itself. And
That's
it was enjoyed. I had two nice groups, about 40 people in total. So it was good. And they asked me, let's do more. So hopefully
that's
I'll
really
plan that
cool.
out. Yeah.
So yeah, I
It
love
has
when we
been
get to
fun.
do things like that because as a tour guide, I find that sometimes it's so easy to just go on the broken record. And some days,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you have the same problem. Some days it's like 6 p.m. God knows how many tours I've done. I don't remember people anymore. I don't remember my name anymore. And I don't know how many times I've explained something to the point that sometimes I'm like, have I already said this for this
Uh-huh.
group? Like I don't actually know what I've explained or not. And I do find it so refreshing when we get to do something a
Mhm.
little bit out of the ordinary. And so, for those of you travelers who actually ask us to do different things, thank you. Like,
Yes, you make us
clearly.
happy clams, really. really. And I always, I'm not sure if they're following us now, but I met the most wonderful group of lovely ladies on World Virtual Tours that actually got in touch with me when they came to Rome. And we had such fun together because they asked me, about some of the areas we talked about online. And it was not the ordinary. We had this, fun, it was almost a chat. It was like spending, some time with some friends and taking them around the city and telling stories and allowing them to taste food. So it was such,
Perfect.
also more enjoyable experience for me. It can get a bit repetitive, especially because, the biggest requests are the usual. So when not possible, it's a little treat to explain and share new areas of the city or have a different way of storytelling. And I try my best with especially the Italian requests, because maybe those are the ones who have already been to Rome. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
maybe they enjoy seeing something a little different from the usual. But now and then I'm getting some requests also, from non-Italians, and that's fun. So and I'm very thankful to World Virtual Tours because it's making all of this possible.
Yeah.
So people know what other areas there are in Rome that are not only Trevi Fountain and the Colosseum and the
Right.
Vatican. Yes, yes. In April, by the way, I'm very excited because I will take everybody live into one of my favorite neighborhoods of the city, which is a bit more north from the city center, and it's the translation would be City Garden in English, and this is one of the fairy tale areas that's so pretty, and I'm excited because it's going to be full spring, so everything blooming, and it's
Nice.
going to be lovely and refreshing. So I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah. No, you see, this is essentially why we love doing these things, because we get a chance to do other stuff, and honestly, it is really really fun. Now, speaking of fun, here is the weird question. And I think
Okay.
I think this is probably the one that normally puts people on the spot. But I appreciate that you're actually very much in your context in the right place to do exactly what you want to do. But have you ever considered where else would you like to live in and maybe be a tour guide if it's not in Rome? Like in an ideal world
Mhm.
outside of this reality, have you ever thought, you know what? Maybe in a future life or in a past life, this would have been another place for me. And why?
You mean always as a tour guide or like doing something completely different?
Or maybe doing something completely different.
Okay, let me think. Well, so I have to say I recently traveled to London as a tourist myself, and I truly I had seen it when I was a little girl, so maybe my memories were a bit off track, and I fell in love with the city, the environment, and I I went to the British Museum, although I got to see only the ground level because of the hacker attack.
Yep.
Um, so, and in that on that occasion, I looked at at my fellow colleagues, and I was like admiring them, and I was like, wow, this is I'm so respect, you're in such a wonderful museum, and sharing this information surrounded by masterpieces from the past, and I was like, I wonder if I would have been there
Mhm.
if not in Italy. So I was really attracted by the environment, and I traveled. I was on a dig in northern France also for a couple of years during my PhD, and there's that area that connects to Belgium.
Mhm.
It's lovely. And I always wondered, maybe I could move here. So I think something always Europe, nothing too exotic, too extreme, and somewhere between the United Kingdom and not only London, because I have part of my family in Scotland. So who knows if maybe all the way up to Scotland. My brother's always asking me, come. There's lots of places where you can work here. He
There are
hopes can
lots of
hurry.
places, to be fair.
Of also the culture. So why not? Yeah. I just I feel like my heart is in Rome, but you never know. You never know where life brings you, and I'm open. I'm open to different opportunities. Yes, I have London in mind because I was back there just a couple of weeks ago, so that was nice. It was really, really nice.
Yeah, I mean, London is one of those places that me myself, I've always thought, God, I would love to live in this town because even
Yes.
though I don't know, London is legitimately, and I know this sounds very cliche, but it is one of those places that there is always something. There's
Oh
always
yeah.
something, and it just has so much stuff for everybody. The problem, of course, is that everybody has the same idea, and it's such a huge town that it's just almost, I mean, the living situation in London is completely out of control and it's just so ridiculously expensive. And even tour guiding, I do tours in London, and actually I hate to say this, they are my least favorite tours after Stonehenge, because everything in London is always just fast and rushed, and people don't stop to actually appreciate what is around them, and the things
Mhm.
that truly make the city so special and important. And I get it, in big towns people have expectations and they want to see XYZ, but it genuinely breaks my heart that people would rather spend 1 hour taking pictures in Trafalgar Square. No shade to Trafalgar Square, the National Gallery is there and I'll happily live and die there. But when you can just walk half an hour down and walk around, I don't know, Borough or Vauxhall, Battersea, so many other places, and you're still in zone one and see an entire world of wonder. Or how very few little people go to Hyde Park, but they never make it to Regent's Park. And Regent's Park is awesome. Regent's Park is
Yes, I
so
was there.
beautiful. It's such a wonderful place, but that's my problem with London, that I feel like it's like pigeonholed in this or that, and it's just difficult to battle. And actually, as a tour guide, is not the nicest environment to work in because the competition is
Um,
insane. Like,
Highly
it's not a
competitive.
place for collaboration, really. It's
Mhm.
literally everyone out for themselves. And
Mhm.
because there is so many people and so many opportunities, everybody is really a bit ruthless. That's at least my experience. Perhaps other people have had other experiences, but that's my number one criticism of the city. But I would love to love in and work in London, and work in some of the museums, like you say, because some of the museums in London are just like mind
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 blowing.
blowing,
Yes, yes,
for sure.
absolutely.
Well,
I Googled a little bit because I feel it's like if somebody didn't know you were talking about London, they would think you were talking about Rome now during the
right, yes,
interview.
exactly. But it's
That's
it's the thing with
exactly
these big
the
cities. They
situation.
always have something to say. The only place I would never say that about a big city is Madrid, because I hate Madrid and everybody knows this. It's not a nice looking town, and it's just a bit abrasive. I know some people really love it, but that's the one
Mhm.
place where I would never say that. But you can say that of almost every big European capital for
Yes,
sure. Which is
absolutely.
definitely the case. Well, we literally have about 2 minutes until we need to wrap this up. So I have the last question of the day, going back to your, not just your tour guiding, but specifically your PhD and research. Can you
Mhm.
tell us something really, like, either really weird or really niche and cool that you found out through your research that very few people actually know about that period of history?
Okay, this is going to sound so random, so
I'm
random.
sure.
But Cistercian monks had flushing toilets.
Yes.
That's maybe the most surprising thing I discovered when looking at hydraulic systems of monasteries that would often recycle ancient pipe systems. And actually, if Italy today has the modern sewer systems, we owe it to both monasteries and Arabic culture. That's where we remembered how to make pipe systems. And they had a way, they had a system to block the running water and then reactivate it. So basically, literally a flushing toilet for their latrines. And there is even a sample left in Germany. I
Wow.
can't remember now the site, but a monastery was found with still, you know, the pipe system and the lever that would rotate. So it wasn't a very elegant discovery to wrap up this interview, but it was definitely something, you know, funny that I have never ever expected. So yeah, and maybe eating habits. Eating habits are always something bizarre that surprise you. You know, there's
Mhm.
a lot of dietary restrictions in monastic environments, and sometimes to get around the rules, you know, you can only eat fish. Okay,
Sure.
but fish means anything that swims, right? So otters were fish, turtles were fish in a certain way, so they would eat anything that had protein in, that we would never ever consider as food now, because of, you know, going around rules. As something, you know, that makes sense to them, made sense to them. So it's fun. We're so creative. Human beings are creative, really, and that's what I love, you know, about reading about these things. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing and a continuous discovery.
For sure. And as for those of you watching at home, these are the weird things that we as archaeologists and historians have to find out sometimes. Oh, how
Yeah.
did flushing toilets work in the Middle Ages? Like like Alba said, it's not necessarily the most glamorous thing, but you just know so much about like people.
Hmm.
And actually, I think at least that's what I find out. We don't really change all that much. We just kind of find ways of slightly improving our lives, from one period to the other. But the ordinary human beings, they are just worried about the same things that you're probably worried at home right now.
Hmm.
What can I get to eat that I can actually afford and it's going to be good for me? How do I make sure that everything that I need to do for my, overall sanitation and whatnot is all well and fine, whether it's a cistern or something else? And it's yeah, it's weird, but it's cool. It's really cool. And on that note, just we have about enough time for Alba to say any last words that you may have for people watching at home, anybody in the World Virtual Tours community, something that you would like them to know about you, about our project, whatever it is. The floor is yours for literally 1 minute and a half.
Oh wow, wow, that's a lot of time. Well, I'm always thankful. I always, you know, say it on tour. I know I might sound cheesy sometimes, but truly I'm grateful for the opportunity to share things that, as we said, you don't always get to share as part of a routine of a tour guide. So I love the support. I love the interest. I love the curiosity that is shown by everybody. Also the questions, and I'm so sorry I don't get to answer all the questions at the end of the Q&A session. So perhaps this, that I am super happy to, you know, chat also via email. You know, all my contact information is on my personal page. So if you're really curious about anything, or if there's a specific topic that maybe I just mentioned and you would like to read or hear more about, I will be more than happy. I'm a human being, so you can write to me,
Yes.
you can text me, message me, and I'll answer actually, you know, but I'll be super happy to have a conversation with you as soon as I'm done with a tour. As if I'm not online and dancing, then I'm on tour probably. But I always answer. So that's something maybe I would invite the community to do. So get in touch. I love to learn what interests you the most. And if there's something specifically that you would like me to talk more about, and maybe I don't consider interesting, but it actually is. So, yeah, somebody left a review about the shoes hanging on a string in Trastevere, and I was like, really, this is the thing that caught your attention the most. So, you know, if I would have never discovered that without the review. So yeah, all these things. Get in touch, be curious, and you'll make me happy because it means I'm not, you know, talking nonsense, but actually I'm talking about things that you're interested in.
For sure. And, that's wonderful advice. And, something that I know many of us say, you're always welcome to contact us. You will be surprised how happy we get when it's like, oh
Yeah.
my God, I got an email that is not a strange request from somebody, but like legitimately good
Mhm.
questions. Because there is never enough time to answer all the questions
Yeah.
on a tour normally. It's very rare that we get through all of them. Which honestly does, at least mine, and I'm sure it's the same for you. It does break my heart because sometimes I'm like, damn, that was such a good question and I couldn't get
Yeah.
to it. So honestly, always more than welcome to get in touch with us, and you'd be surprised paragraph long emails that we will send you back just because we got super excited about this one thing. And on that note, unfortunately, we need to wrap this up. But Alba, it's been awesome as always having you on board. And
Mhm.
for those of you guys watching at home, Alba has a lot of new stuff coming on. We actually have a pretty cool project with two other of our
Mhm.
tour guides appearing in April with Patricia and with Anna. So keep an eye out for that as we rediscover Rafael in a different way. And of course, Alba, I, and a bunch of the other tour guides in the platform are putting something really cool together for International Women's Month in March. So, we are really trying to bring you stuff that is new. So
Yeah.
thank you for all of that. And thank you again, Alba, for spending some time with us
Thank
in what
you.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
is a very busy time.
It was fun. It was relaxing and recharging to just chat.
Excellent. Well, in which
Okay.
case, it's unfortunately time, guys, to finish the stream. So I'll be trying to find the button and say goodbye. So see you all later.
Thank you. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.